synapsis with, let's see if I can get there. Okay, so when I'm trying to screen share, why can I not see that screen? Give me just a minute.
Sure, take your time.
Okay, where is this one? I may have to extend my desktop because this is usually connected to 3 monitors and it's not seeing these pages when I go to screen share. Okay. Just going to extend my graphic thing here to digital display extended desktop. Okay, try this screen share thing again.
Okay.
And I still can't see my windows that are on. Okay, full screen. I'll choose that, see if that works. Okay, let's see. What other choice do I have to get to? I got into this before, but I can't remember where I go to get to it. Display, graphic options, graphic properties.
Are you talking about the multiple screens thing?
Yeah.
Screen resolution. When you right click on the desktop.
I'm right clicking their screen resolution. That's what I want. Okay, so display, extend these displays, duplicate these displays, show desktop only 1, only on 2, only on 1. I'm going to try that. Okay, let me try to screen share again, see if I've got a choice of synapsis. No, I still don't have a choice. I haven't had this trouble before. I'm not sure how to get to this. Give us a few more minutes, Amy.
Oh, take your time. I know this is the frustrating stuff, isn't it?
Now it's like it's searching for my. So it's obviously where I just set it is desktop.
Did you always use this browser?
Yeah, this is the browser I always use. It's not a browser. It's like it doesn't. It's on one of my. You know what I mean? I usually have 3 connected, and it's not recognizing that screen right there. It's
Okay, I can make that a separate screen and put Synapsis up there, but we would we wouldn't see what Amy's seeing. We just only see whatever you see in Synapsis.
Okay.
Do you want to try that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's under multiple displays.
And then I'm going to move Synapsis out there. Oh.
Please wait. Okay, there's my.
Which way is it? Is it that way? Yep. it's
This
that
way, this way.
Okay, and then you want to move out the other one as well. If I can find my mouse, there we go.
There we go. You guys, look what we're doing. We're moving screens to a monitor that's not sitting here. Because my laptop's used to connecting to either two monitors at home or two monitors here. So so we think we might have this. Amy?
Okay. I can see your screen. That's awesome.
Waiting. Thank you for waiting. Okay. So let's see. Now I have to figure out how to get into this record. So let's go over. No. Go over.
Use the mouse and use it up there.
Oh. Okay. I'm getting there, Amy.
No, take your time. You're fine.
Now we've got volume.
Oh yeah, the volume wasn't turned up long. Oh, it's showing up over here. Chris, when I click there on that, it's showing up over here.
Okay, well.
Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this. So I go over to the right.
To the left.
Here we go. I'm almost there. To the left. To the left. Okay, search international profiles. So if Linda had a file, oh my gosh. If Linda had a file for someone named create student, possible middle name over there, and a test template was the last name, she would search for that and see that. And
what happened to John Smith?
Yeah, right.
well, I'm trying to make names for all my templates for all my records to remind me what I was doing with that and not overwrite that testing that I'm working on. So I have all these weird names. Okay, so we would look and be like, okay, yeah, I'm looking at this person's passport and they're 9/23/1962. That's their birthday. They're female. This is the right record. They're from Zambia. And what I want to show now is how a record looks, and it's kind of naked because it's just what the data link fed in for Linda to see. So if we go down to record management and we go to biographical information, right now really what I'm doing is just showing what did the data link feed in so we can all get on the same page about that. So under core biographical, this came in from the data link. So you would see their name. The university ID would be an actual university ID. You'd see the campus, UC Davis. Citizenship does feed in from the data link. Immigration status is going to feed in from the data link. So just like we see it now, it's going to be F1, J1, some other letter or other. And then profile status. So when a record comes in the admissions data link, it automatically Synapsis knows this is an admitted student. And then the network ID is something new that the data link will feed in because we're going to need it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to connect. The student's not going to be able to get to information by logging on with their Kerberos ID. So that login ID, network ID, that's their Kerberos ID of the student. Okay, that all feeds in from the data link. So let's close out of that window and go down and look at extended biographical. We're also going to get their gender. We're going to get their date of birth. And again, this is the same as what we have now, except for that login ID, the Kerberos ID. Country of birth, Angola. We're going to have non-immigrant. And by the way, I made a Word document, you guys, with all of this in it. So if you can't catch everything we're doing, I'm going to send you the Word document that says manual data entry, data link, template, what's in the template. I sat here and went through all this for you. So, but I'm just trying to catch everybody. I'm just trying to make sure we understand because this is really hard for me too. And so I know it's got to be hard for everyone. Or I'm assuming it's hard for everyone. So then non-immigrant, just like right now, we see that NI come through for their citizenship type in a custom field, that's going to come in. And non-resident. And these things down here, non-immigrant, non-resident, these will, as a student goes forward, will change. What we will not change is we will not let the system change somebody from a female to a male. If in Banner there's a mistake later or whatever changes, we also are not going to take the birth date more than once. And we're not going to take country of birth or country of citizenship. Those, just the same way we do it right now, we will find out if somebody changes to a permanent resident, or for tax purposes, they become a resident alien. There's only two choices in this box right here for residency. And most of us on a daily basis don't deal with that. Okay, so that's the extended biographical. Immigration status history. Okay, so here, and Amy, you're gonna have to jump in and help me here. If I'd really done this with the data link, this still would be blank, and it's
Right.
not filled in until we actually create student, and then Synapsis would get the F1 information in here.
Yeah. What? Well, after you've created and they've been activated. So
Oh, and and you mean that we send a registration event?
exactly.
Got it. Okay, so this is an important concept, you guys, because you know, when on the one hand, this is a brand new student. On the other hand, if we have continuous students, when we convert our data, the profiles in FSA are going to fill this out. So theoretically, for our students who are continuing, there will be stuff here because they do have an active status. But when you have a new student coming in, you're not going to see this until we register the student's record. Okay, communication, we don't use this, well, I said we don't use this, I didn't realize the emails are there. Never mind. Communication, this is going to feed in. Official university email will feed in like it does now. So you can think of this as the local current, you know, where we currently have that. And then in the permanent, we also have this. So right now, we're just going to have official university email, one line. The other email is going to be like right now what we see, and I believe it's the mailing line where we get an alternate email if they have one. And I will say that, and Linda knows this, until their UC Davis email set up, there may be a temporary one up there. So if there is no UC Davis email, we're going to feed any email that they reported to contact them. Eventually, it's going to get overwritten. If you overwrite, if we find out, oh, you know, crap, this person's email is wrong in Banner, and we can't get in touch with this person, we would go, you know, manually update it here. I'm going to explain this concept because I didn't understand it. If you click manually update here, the data link's not going to overwrite that stuff. You're never, at this point, there is no case where you would do this, where you would say, no, don't overwrite this. What we do with this field is we only get it once. So there's a lot of stuff that you might be thinking, oh, I don't want the data link to overwrite this. Those things that are a general rule, they're not coming in more than once because we don't want the crap that's in Banner. It's not all crap in Banner, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so that's the communication window. Yeah, go ahead.
So if they're manually updated, just to understand that a little bit better. So if they don't have anything in, if there's nothing to feed in.
There'll be something to feed in. They always have some email out in Banner.
Okay, so something will feed in, but if it's not their UC Davis address that feeds into the official university email, and then later they get one, you're saying that.
Okay, so
I mean, if
so
let overwrite, then
good
how will
point.
it overwrite?
So what's going to happen is when new admit records come in, it's a pretty quick, okay, they served yes when that new admit record comes in. Then they're getting that My UC Davis, and there's a timing issue with when the new admit comes in and when their email is created. There's just a short timing issue. So it's going to be really, really unusual for anyone in our office to be going in and touching this before the data link's going to get the UC Davis. Linda will see it, Linda and Kathleen, but it's still sitting out there, and we will make sure that the UC Davis email address gets in there. And Tammy, I still have to figure that out because in Synapsis, right now we have one data link logic, but in Synapsis, the admissions data link is different than the continuing. It's two separate pieces of logic. So it's a good question, and I don't think I can see what your question is, and I don't think I'm fully answering it, and I'll figure it out.
And when you click manually, just say that you do that, And,
Yeah.
And you're saying that then the data link will never overwrite that? Is it only when that's checked, or if you uncheck it, will it overwrite again, ever?
Amy, can you answer that question? If we check, go ahead.
Are you talking about the other email or the official university email? Because that would probably never change. So it would be the other email that you're talking about?
Yeah.
And you're saying if you unchecked it, would it then overwrite if they updated it in
Yeah.
the system? I think that is in theory. I will say, and I talked about this with Jody yesterday, what typically happens at other universities that I've worked with is that this information, the university email and the other email on file, comes in one time. And then after that point, you know, it never would get updated again by the data feed. So because we often, you know, want to be able to update that other email account. So I think that's something that's worth checking up on with IU, meaning that you get that that email data feed one time, you know, perhaps with your admission feed, but then you don't continue to pull it in from your university system, and then you manage it. You know, by the time you get to eForms, you ask students, you know, to update email addresses through that process. So I personally am not aware that I've worked with a school that continues to update email addresses after it initially comes in. So that would be a good question for IU in terms of, you know, how you could manage that through the data feed, I would think.
Okay.
And that way then you don't have to worry about that manually checking and unchecking business too.
Yeah, you guys, I'll check a little bit more into the timing of the email, and I'm going to work with Linda about that too, Linda and Kathleen, so we can look at what's happening when we've got records before they touch them and what's happening after. And I'll just verify that and make sure that we have it working the same way in synapsis.
Yeah.
But I'll ask the question. Let me go ahead.
For STEM, you know, like a lot of times with their STEM requests, they may have a different other email.
Right.
In here,
Right, but you don't need to manually. Right, but let me just say this: when someone's on OPT, they're not feeding to the data.
Right, so
we turn that off.
And we would
manual.
Right, but you don't have to check the manual update box. That's one of Amy's points, and what we're saying is there's no reason for you to check manually updated because the data link's not even on for that person. And that's why I'm saying right now I can't think of an instance where you ever will touch that manual update, and I just would like to say that's a big red flag right there. So I wanted to explain to you how it works, because we may get further down the line here and there may be a situation where we might have to do that, but right now I don't want anyone doing that without asking me and explaining why would you want to do that. So right now I don't think we're going to use that. Okay, so Amy, you said ask IU about the process of how turning on and turning off.
Yeah, just, you know, ask them, say, if this is what you desire, you know, we want to bring in the university and personal email address at the point of admission, but then never again.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm hallucinating this. I'm pretty sure that there are other schools that have set it up that way, that it only comes in through the admission data and then it doesn't continue to get updated.
Okay, great. So let's close that window. So again, we're still on just stuff that's coming through the data link here. Oh, dependence. Okay, don't pretend that I didn't show you that, because obviously Pepe Love Casanova is not in. Okay, this is one I manually entered. So just pretend I didn't show you this right now, because that was not there.
But
That's
so
a manual data entry.
dependents are going to be manual.
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I jumped ahead of myself.
Okay.
Let me just keep going here.
Okay.
Addresses. These addresses are going to be in here. Okay, so permanent address, just like Linda and Kathleen see now, permanent address is going to be in here. Mailing address is going to come through. Now, let's just make a note real quick here about, I'm going to show you if you were going to go in and add a record, I don't have the whole, hold on, let me get this window bigger. Okay, so these are the types of addresses. Bless America, they're showing up down here and you guys can't see them. Amy can see the types of addresses, but you can't because they're on another screen. I just want to say, Amy can, it's in the phone right here. Oh, never mind.
I can see.
We're challenged. Okay, so I just want to point out that that drop down has departmental, faculty sponsor, foreign, outside USA, mailing, permanent, temporary, United States local, and United States other. Now, right now, for the student's local address that we will feed one time, it's going to go under United States local. And I'm not showing that yet here. And what I want to say is about this is that Amy pointed out that we're on an older version of Synapsis, and we're gonna upgrade. And I'm not sure at what date we're gonna do that, but before we do our data feed, convert and get our data over here, we're gonna upgrade Synapsis to the version that people are using right now, because the names of these fields, it's easier to understand. It's CVIS USA inside the United States, and maybe CVIS USA foreign address or whatnot. So I don't want to go into too much except for just the permanent and the mailing address. So we'll revisit
Which is
this.
needed for just about everybody, and except for transfers, you need to include local USA or CVIS USA.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to still get the feed that we get right now, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, when we get the feed right now, you see two addresses. You see a permanent address they reported in the whole country, and you see a mailing address. And you don't see a local address because nobody's entering a CVIS USA because we don't have one. I mean, they don't know about CVIS USA. So right now, you're seeing a permanent and a mailing address in FSA. The bottom two addresses. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah. And maybe I'm not hesitating, but I'm thinking, because it's not consistent with every situation.
Okay.
So, but yes, for the majority, that is true. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Because I'm always going, well, do you want me to say, yeah, but except.
No, I
blah,
want
blah,
you
blah.
to say the except. That's fine to say the exceptions.
Well,
And point
why?
out that,
I know, like when you look at the template thing, that could have been like a nightmare. And I said, well, we're just going to assume that these are the fields that, for lack of another way of saying it, we want to come in. Even if now they aren't coming in.
got it.
You got what I'm saying?
I
You
do,
get what I'm
and-
saying?
And I think what needs to happen in that
Because
conversation.
because it was like, why differentiate between what the professional school person, what the transfer person, what the
New first year.
yeah, but how they differ now, right? I've got down how they differ, and so we just take care of it, right?
Right.
But we're not going to build that into this, right? Because this is all just going to come in for everybody.
Well, what I
regardless.
need to know, what I need you guys to do when you're working on that template is email me and say, Jody, these are the fields we want to come in that aren't coming in now. We want these to come in for everybody. And I'll tell you, yes, that's going to be possible, or no, it's not, because either the information's not there or the timing's not going to happen that way. So I need you, when you're thinking this is different than what the data link is bringing in now, I need you guys to email me and say, Jody, is this right? And because if I don't know something you guys are thinking is going to come through the data link that's different than the logic we have now, it's not going to come through the data link. So just make sure when you're working on that process to email me or call me, something. I prefer it in writing so we can refer back and keep track of what's going on.
Well, I mean, it seems to me like if you approach it from these are all the fields that should come in, okay, and let's say it's a new F, right?
Right.
That's the one where the most of the stuff comes from,
Right.
okay? Why not just have that as your
Starting point.
your foundation, and then anything else, then like you say, it occurs because of what happens at the originating end,
Right.
not because of anything we do or that you can do.
Got it.
And
So you're saying in some cases, there's information missing here because it's not filled in by the professional schools.
right.
And
Or
it's,
not
but we've got the
filled-
data link on for it, and you just know that if it's not there, you've got to get it.
Yeah.
You got to enter it.
Yeah.
Well, and what I'm saying is,
And so that
The
would be
data
the same
link-
with this,
right, the data link's going to work the way it works right now unless you tell me an additional field. So I think we were talking about two different things. I hear what you're saying. Yes, you can assume that all of the records, we're doing the data feed for all the fields. And it's the same. It's really the same for
And whether
everybody.
they come in or not, it's not a result of anything you did or didn't do. It's just
Got
because
it.
of the originating and it wasn't there.
Right, and what I want to let you know is the only change I've said so far, remember I said the network ID, the Kerberos ID, that's the only field, in addition to what we're getting right now, that's going to come in on top of what we're already getting. So I want us to
Okay,
be
so
aware.
that's the other piece of information. The places that this information is, because right now, it's being from one place.
No, we have no, what I'm saying is, we don't currently have the student's Kerberos ID. And as I say, there's no field for it, we don't
I
have it.
know, so right
Okay.
now, it's only feeding in from one place, Banner. Except for when you get grad studies and blah, 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 right?
What I'm saying is it's not feeding into FSA right now. There is no feed for the student's login ID for their, like Barnhill's my network ID.
Never mind.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I think that
I-
one of these in general. Everything in general is.
Yeah. Whereas with synapsis, it will feed in from multiple places.
It's all
It'll-
feeding in from
it'll-
Banner. It's all still
Then-
feeding in from Banner.
Not from my admissions or any of the
My
other
admissions
places.
goes to
That was my
Banner.
understanding from the beginning.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, I guess that was either a miscommunication on my part. I think it's really important that we understand all of these other places that have shadow systems. FSA is a shadow system banner. All these other places that have these My Admissions, Grad Studies has Apply Yourself, Opposites Apply Yourself. Those things all feed into Banner. We don't see anything from My Admissions or Apply Yourself unless it's a Banner. So we're only feeding from Banner. Our data link feed, and that's what it's going to be. It's the same. It's the same.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I mean, I thought we were gonna be
Pulling
grabbing
from different
information
places.
from different places.
Yeah,
for
we're not.
synopsis.
And the really important thing to understand is probably 99% of the people in the country that are doing what we're doing, you don't feed from multiple systems. The student information system is the information system of record. And that's why we're having trouble with these summer-only people that don't have an admit record out there. Because that's where someone's going to go and say, why did you?
Right, I guess I was, you know, in my thinking, I was just thinking that we would be automating, pulling in more information than we do now, and in order to do that, we would be pulling from multiple places, just out of necessity, but obviously that
Got it.
is not a complete misunderstanding.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you for asking these questions. Go
I
ahead,
think
Chris.
what that stemmed from was because we talked about how there's an admissions portion of synapsis. And it'll be pulling in stuff from SATMs, not from
Okay, I see.
admissions. But we call it admissions because it's admissions information.
So, okay, so right now, okay, I see where the confusion came in. Right now, we have one data link logic, one piece of document that says do this with that field, put this over there. If this is true, then put that there. It's one document. Now what we're doing is we're saying admissions is a logic over here, and that logic goes the one time, just like we are right now, but continuing students logic is over here. So we have two sets of things, and really it's just, in my mind, I think of it like kind of like it's an imaginary thing. It's just sitting out there and telling, but it's going to work the similar way. It's just in synapsis, the data link is segregated into two parts, but it's all still feeding from there. I see why you're confused. Okay. Okay, so, or why you were confused. Okay, I'm getting rid of this new record in here that I put in, maybe.
Amy, I had a quick question before we leave this address tab. There's a warning message on
Okay,
this.
okay, just, thank you.
I noticed that when you create the I20, it pulls in a different address, foreign, outside of USA. But currently in FSA, we use the permanent address as the outside of USA address.
Mhm.
Does that mean that our data link needs to be feeding to the outside of USA? Permanent?
Yeah, but you don't have a foreign outside USA option in FSA, do you?
Well, we do, but we call it the permanent address.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
this gets back to where does Synapsis pull, which field is Synapsis using to send the permanent foreign address to in the batch event? Is it using permanent, or I guess the question is it
No.
using?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it uses the foreign outside US, and that's why when you guys update, I believe they will indicate
Here.
the address type that it is the one that's being sent to CVIS. But that should. I'm wondering if that is also in the back of your tech guide, in those tables, that it will indicate that for you.
Okay.
So looking at that feed, yeah. It sounds like it's the same thing. You're just calling it something different in FSA.
Right. So I'll go ahead and put foreign outside USA so that all of us are, on that page, we're thinking that's where their permanent address that goes to CVIS out, where they're going to return when they finish their program.
Right. Because they could give you a permanent address could be, if they're an H-1B, they may have a permanent address here in the U.S., and that could be different than a foreign outside USA. So I think that's why they've made the distinction. But I can see that it's confusing.
Okay, so this was the one that I wanted to say. We don't use the contacts, but the only exception is on a paper form, we have an emergency contact for this information. So right now, it's not clear to me if we would be using this contacts form for anything.
Until we have e-forms.
Yeah, until we have e-forms. But like this contacts, again, the drop down up there is departmental, faculty, sponsor. It's the same temporary, it's the same choices as in the address tab. So this could be used though, I'm thinking, for like emergency contact information.
Well, yeah, and one thing I'll mention that we have not gone over yet in the trainings, which is the check-in module that Synapsis offers. And what that means is it's a pre-configured module that a student can log in, upload their documents after arrival, provide information about their local address if they have one. And a component of that is that they asking them to provide contact information for someone in the country and or someone outside the country. And if you do use that module, it's going to automatically put that information into that screen for you. So
this is already pre-made and universal.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, we will never
again. So just so you know.
Okay, we'll never use associate ID number unless our university decides to go to a system where you're going to consider somebody outside of UC Davis an affiliate and give them a status in the Anderson House. So this isn't going to apply to us right now. So let's go down to the I20 detail information, and we're almost done with this section of it. But I think it's important to go through it. So I20 program information. So my understanding is this will come in through the data link feed, with the exception right now, we don't have the ability to get these three fields right here. So our logic and
I'm doing that from a template.
IT, right, it's going to come in from the template. These three right here.
The primary major, will that go into the admissions tab first?
It does.
Then
it does.
Pull in from the template.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. And so I'm going to go down and show that because that was what Amy pointed out. I needed to fill in some admissions. So in this one, let's start down further first because I think it'll make more sense. Let's go down to, where's the admissions information I got? Student academic information. Okay, so in the data link feed, when a new admit record comes in, it's going to come in and, say the person's admit, their applicant status is admitted. It's going to have admit term. Okay, and I'm setting up, configuring this inside synapsis to tell it what quarters we have, what semesters we have, what are those term start dates and term end dates. And that's just something that I manually have to configure inside Synapsis and always stay out 5 years and put information in there. So this will be there when the record comes in from the data link. It'll say undergraduate, and it'll have their academic level. And it will have their major, their primary major. So then I'm trying to remember if program information is part of. Amy, do most people also, from the data link, this field, program information, also fills in?
It does, but I think that's only after they've been activated. Like, I think it's only after they've begun the term or something like that. We could confirm that. I don't recall seeing it. You get the admission information first, and I don't believe that I've seen the program information at that point. I'll just look real quickly to see if they give indication about the point where that populates. But definitely by the time the term starts, it's there. Yeah, it doesn't really say.
Where does secondary SIP major feed in? Is that under a different tab?
So that will come in under your program information. That's where you would, it would be ranked as major, and then it would have a, what do you call it? The sequence number would be 1 or 2. So on the program information window, that's where you'll see your major and minor information coming in.
You would insert another line of data, is that, or another like form? Or
we're trying to figure out where that sequence number is. Like, I'm looking at this right now.
Are you looking at program information?
I'm looking in the program information window.
Down at the bottom.
Okay.
The last fields.
Oh, sequence number.
Exactly. So your primary, the first major that is added would be the sequence number 1. If they then add another major, that would be, it would come in as a major, but it would be sequence number 2. So that's how you would know that it was a secondary, major. If a minor will also come in, and it will be indicated as a minor as well.
So there'll be more than one record over here. It'll
exactly.
be Davis Fall Quarter 715 undergraduate, and then there'll be some other row there for their.
Exactly. So if you had a student with 2 majors and a minor, you would have 3 different rows.
Okay, and I just want to let everybody know too, because this is a hard part of this for me. These program information, and it tells you that under the help thing, these are not things that you can just manually go in here and do. The data link's going to feed them, and it's going to get overwritten if you manually do this. So I'm showing you what's coming in from the data link, and the template will pull from here.
Mm-hmm.
So in any case,
how do you tell the template to pick from sequence 1 or 2? Because what I'm not understanding is if our data link feeds in like a 3rd major because they got rid of the 1st major, I don't see how the template can tell which program information window to pull the majors from for primary and secondary.
So if they replace a major, then that old major is going to disappear and be replaced by the new one?
Yeah, that's what
and so that's going to come in. So the data link feed, like, and I think this is another important concept. Right now, we're holding back that stuff and alerting the student team once a month to the change of level, change of major. Like we give a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. So the way it's going to work here, the new paradigm is there's going to be an alert that's going to tell you, here's the people with a change of level, here's the people with a change of major. And Amy, you might be able to clarify a little bit more about that and how that works in the alert tree. I know we talked about that before, and in my mind, it's not exactly clear how many different alerts we're going to have. Like I think you said whether it's a bachelor's change of major or a graduate change of major, they're all going to be in the same pile in the alert.
Yes, they will be. but it's only the primary major that you're going to get an alert on.
Okay.
So it's only the synapsis is only going to generate alert about a major change if that primary major has been changed. It's not going to alert you when they add a new major or a minor or anything like that.
Okay, so have you, in your experience, how are other schools handling those? There's going to be, it's going to create a CVIS event, right? If the secondary major changes, so there's going to be CVIS.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
You have to do that manually.
So,
To my knowledge, it's only the primary major is the one that generates a batch. And to be frank, which I think is strange because I thought these all were, you were required to report all of them. I'm not working with any schools that send secondary major or minor.
yeah, and thank you, Amy. And that is, these are some of the things, you guys, that I'm finding out as we're going along. Like some of the things we're doing, nobody else is doing them. And
yeah,
so,
I don't know why, because I thought when I read the regs, they were required to be reported, but I don't know.
The reason why we're doing that while we're adding them on I20 is to give the student more opportunity for OPT.
and the thing is that it's in CVIS. The primary and the secondary major is in CVIS. Right. So they're going to have the opportunities for OPT for either one, but we are putting it in the remarks field. And some students want to see it on their I20. And
a lot of that on the remarks field is clear.
Yes.
See it because they can't see what's in CVIS.
Right. And there's a difference between, this is it's a complicated topic. And when I said no one else is doing what we're doing, what we're saying is no one else in Synapsis is doing this, but I know other schools that are doing the primary, secondary major thing. And if the primary major is changing for grad student, they're definitely looking at the TA and the RA. So I think the important thing here is that this is going to work a little differently, and we're going to have to sort this out as we're going forward. But I don't want to get bogged down here in this one particular issue. But I didn't realize that we'd only get an alert for primary major changing. So, so I'm just going to make a note here. But what I want to say is, just real quick, on that change of level, change in major topic, the data team is still going to have to manage those alerts to filter through them and go ahead and automatically batch the bachelor's ones. And that's right, Amy, that none of those are going to get automatically batched unless we go through the alert and actually process them.
For the major changes, is that what you're talking about? For the ones that are generated by Synapsis, or
the ones that come through the data link. If we have change of major, primary major, it's going to be on an alert, and we would actually have to process those changes before they go up to CVIS.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like the alert is now our data link holding area, and then we're going to alert you guys when we get done going through all of them. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back here. I think we're done with this screen. And again, I had to manually enter this because we don't have the data link set up, and that's why some of these things are a little bit, back and forth and asking questions. I think, Amy, I'm done on this, and I was going to move on to templates. Did I miss anything? I mean, I was going to.
I think you've pretty much covered it for your basic info that you're going to see when a student is admitted, what coming through your data feed or your data link. So I think we can kind of, let me just make sure, move on to maybe applying the template and the process of creating that I20 in using the populate fields button.
Okay.
So, and actually, I could probably just guide you through it. If I'm a little concerned that sending the screen share to me might be more complicated than it's worth. So if we now move to the mindset that we let's say have received this student's record has come through. One other thing to note in relationship to this is that when that student is admitted, just a reminder, they will fall on an alert called Admit to Review for CVIS document. So you will have an alert on your alert tree where a student like this would also be appearing. Okay. And in fact, it actually may be because it may already be there because Jody created this. If your alerts are if your alert tree is sort of configured. And
I don't think I did any configuration on the alert tree.
okay, so it might not be, but when you guys go live, you know, you will have the alert tree to also monitor those students at the point that you're still paper based. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like you have any alerts there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Which
So
is no problem. So.
before we go on to pass the data link feed, enter this stuff, and apply a template, I just want to point out that this particular person that Linda's reviewing has a baby bunny dependent. So we need to have Linda, I think, understand that that has to be manually created. And I did that. I know you do. I know you
We
do.
already went over it. Sorry. we
Oh,
did
okay,
earlier.
okay. Well, but we went over it out of order. The data link didn't put it. Okay, so you remember. Okay. So now, Evie, you can guide me through doing the template.
Yeah, so you would have probably, you know, I think by the time you get to the template, you're at the point where you have reviewed all of the documentation that they've submitted. You've reviewed the request. You've also manually entered the dependent information. And actually, Jody, can you just open that dependent window?
Yeah.
In the event that you have, we just have a single dependent entered here. If you need to add an additional dependent, all you need to do is hit that little green cross, and it's going to give you a new row that you can then enter subsequent dependents there. Okay.
So
And
on the side.
you would then have the opportunity to add all of those dependents, select which dependent you want to create in Synapsis. I mean, in CBIS. So, okay, so you've done all that. That's going to be the basic data entry that you probably will have to do at the point of getting ready to create an I20. So Jody has gone through and has put together a sample template that would probably be your next step. And this template is going to set up the I20 information, okay? It's going to put all of the information that is static for your school, you know, namely your school program code, the fact that this is an undergraduate student in initial status, along with their program start and end dates and so forth. It'll also input your financial requirements, okay, for the term that the student is entering. So you're going to come down to apply template. You'll see Jody has embedded this F1 new admit template there. So if you double click that.
And this is an undergrad first year, fall 2015 is, let me get over here and say yes. Apply, it's asking me, do you wish to apply the template? If you apply the template, then the records will be inserted or updated. There appears already to be I-20 financial information records with empty CS numbers attached to this individual. Do you wish to continue in applying the template? And you say yes.
Yeah, that's probably from our prior.
Yeah, I've got more than one row here because
Yeah, so to make it easy, just for the first time we do this, it might be better just to delete one of the rows.
Yeah.
So that when we get to the creation part.
Okay, I'll delete that. I can get to my, yes, over here. Here I am. Okay.
And on your financial screen as well, I think you've got an additional row.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So what you see is simply by applying that template, which I believe you use templates in FSA as well, it has input this sort of basic information for you into the record. Okay. Now, obviously, at this point, you're going to need to do a little bit more of the data entry because you're going to need to indicate on the bottom part of the screen the student's funding source. You would also be able to template in remarks if you have standard remarks that you use for all new I-20s. You could also have those automatically put in if you like.
Okay, so in any case, that should be how should be the stuff in our I-20 financial information template. And now, Amy, I made a few changes so I can just say save.
Yeah, and then you may, so that this, you may want to put in the student, you know, however much funding they've submitted to you in this screen here.
Okay.
Save it again.
Okay.
Okay, super. So, and now let's take a look at the I-20 program information to see if it is correct. So we've got the bachelor's, we've brought in the primary major. So the secondary major and minor, which we should also be able to do in the template if you're not feeding those in, you'll need to select none for both of those so that it will go through.
Okay.
So if you just double click on that upward facing arrow, there you go. And save it.
Okay.
So at this point, you've got your basic I-20 information input. Now, what we're going to demonstrate is how you could then go about creating an I-20 in CVIS RTI, remember, in your embedded browser by using the Populate Fields button. So the first thing you want to do in this case, Jody, is to copy that university ID there. And it will soon become clear why you have to do that. Okay.
And Amy, I want to make sure, I want to stop right here for a minute and make sure, because this is something I have a question about too. Because so at this point, I'm thinking that Linda's going to hand this off to an advisor. That's okay. Our process. So can we do a step here where we assign this to an advisor? And is there a way for Linda to look at this whole request without going in and creating the CVIS batch? Can she look at everything to do one final check? That's one question I had.
Yeah, so what she could do, so we could back up a step. If she wants to see exactly what that I-20 data is going to look like, you can always go to the Create a CVIS batch. Now, we're not going to send a batch, but it's going to show you exactly all the I-20 data there that you can review all together. Yeah, so if you open that Create New I-20, and this is just for your review purposes. So what you're going to see is here's all the information that is set up that we're going to feed in automatically to CVIS through the RTI.
And everybody, just so you know, there's an import existing dependence record here, Pepe Love Love Casanova, and you can't see that on your screen, but I'm checking the box and I'm saying okay to import Pepe. And then notice the dependent tab popped up there.
Mm-hmm. So you can go through as a part of your final review and just, you know, make sure all the data is there that you like. Now, remember, you don't have to send this as a CVIS batch, even though it's appearing under the CVIS batch. This is just showing you what your core data is that's prepared to go to CVIS.
Okay, and I just had somebody step back in the room, and I want to make sure, because this is an important part of the process. Mm-hmm. So what we just did is we were getting ready because we'd gone through and done the manual data entry we needed, and we were getting ready to go and take this temporary ID and go into the embedded browser. But I wanted to just stop for a minute because before that happens, that's an advisor doing that. You know, Linda usually would want an opportunity to review the, you know, create new I-20, all the fields, just have one overlook to make sure, okay, everything's okay here. And then, so the way we did that was we went down to create CVIS batch, create new I-20, and even though we're not going to send this by batch, this is a way that you can, this is the way you can review everything that's entered on this person's record. And Tammy, a box came up when we went to create new I-20 that said, you want to add this existing dependent. And Pepe Love Love Casanova came up, checked, okay. So that's where we're at now. Now, if Linda reviews all of this, Amy, and she's ready to move on and hand it to an advisor, can you walk us through that process, and how do we leave this dangling CVIS create new I-20 thing?
I'm sorry, how do you do what with the I-20 thing?
Well, so we don't want to batch this.
Yeah, you can just close it out.
Just close it out. So we haven't done anything there.
Nope. You just did a basic review. If you wanted to set it up for CVIS batch, she could have reviewed it and then created a pending batch, and that would send it up.
And that would be by pushing that checkbox with the round on the create?
Yeah, no, because you have CVIS credentials, so you would actually, at that point, if you click that, that's going to send it to CVIS. If she does not have CVIS credentials, what she would see is, I believe it's a little globe. It might have a checkbox, but it also has like a little cross next to it. So it would say create a pending CVIS batch. And that would be sent to your batch management. It could be reviewed and, approved by someone who has CVIS credentials, if you wanted to use the batch option.
Okay.
But at this point, we're going to do the RTI, so I wouldn't press that, and we'll just close it out.
Okay. So we're going to close that out.
Yeah.
How does she assign this then to an advisor?
So if you scroll down a little bit further, you're going to see case assignment appear. Case file tracking.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you click the little icon with the blue folder and the little male businessman.
Yep.
I have a bone to pick with them because most of us are women. I don't know why we have all these male icons. Subject of the new case file, and that can be whatever phrase if you want to use a standard phrase, create I20 ready for review or something like that.
Okay.
And then you simply select it to the user that you want to forward that to. You might want to use yourself as that example so that you can show how it shows up there on your case tracker.
Okay. So we're going to assign this to Mary Claybaugh. Okay. So I click that and then I click assign new case file.
Yep. So you'll see not only is there a record there that there's an open case file with all that information, but it has just now appeared on Mary's case tracker immediately.
Is there any way to accumulate completed I20 requests and then send them off to an advisor all in a group?
That would be the batch. You would want to go down the road of batching if that's the way you'd like to do it. The way that we're going to demonstrate now is only to create through RTI. But this similar scenario, she could have set it up for CVIS for a batch event, also forwarded it to you for review, and then you would simply just go into CVIS batch management, or even within the record itself, and you could approve them all if you go into CVIS batch management with one fell swoop. That's really a process decision for your team to think about how you prefer to do it.
Yeah, and so I think what I've heard before is that, and it just depends on our internal process versus how other folks are doing their process. So it's a decision that the student needs to make as far as, do we want to batch these create students because there's more power to actually being able to go in and look at all the ones that were assigned to Tammy, or do we want Tammy to be able to go into her case assignment and go in one by one to RTI and do them? And we can do both of those routes, but it's just a decision of, we could do a combination of those, or we can decide we want to batch all the create I20s. So I think that's a decision of how you guys want to proceed.
Okay, so if RTI route.
No, I don't mean that.
But I just have a question. If the RTI route means that Lindy and Kathleen have to one by one send them to our case tracker, what's the route if we get batched? From when they leave.
So Amy,
Yeah.
I think the question, what none of us really understand clearly is the difference in the process of, say, Linda processes 50, or, you know, in a week, 50 create I20s, or just in one day, she's got 10. She assigns 3 to Tammy, 3 to Mary, 3 to Emily. And what we're not sure about is, let's say we were going to use the create batch method. And so she's assigned 3 to each of these advisors, and the other one, let's forget about. How does that look as far as that advisor going to CVIS management or going to review this record here versus going in one by one and doing it in RTI?
Well, so you don't have to go into RTI and take those steps. So it's going to be less time consuming for, I mean, less effort for the advisor when it finally gets forwarded to their plate. If it's been created as a batch already and forwarded to them, all they would need to do is they could do it one of 2 ways. They could go to CVIS transactions in the client record. They would see the batch. I'm sorry, if you go back to the client record.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so in the
CVIS transactions.
okay.
It's right above create CVIS batch.
Okay.
So let's say intake person has forwarded this. They've created the batch. What you would see under CVIS transactions is pending batch create I20.
So do you want me to go ahead and approve this and put it over there?
Well, I think the problem here is going to be that you actually have CVIS credentials. So it's going to just get shot to CVIS management. The scenario that we want to see is someone who's created it who does not have CVIS credentials, because then it gets forwarded to the advisor. Sorry. And then go in and approve it. But what you would see under CVIS transactions, let's say the batch has been set up, a pending batch has been set up, you get it forwarded to your case tracker. You can approve it in one of 2 ways. You can go to the CVIS transactions. You would see, hey, there's a pending batch here. You can review what's there and click basically that same button that you see under the create new I20 to approve it. You could also go under CVIS management up at the top, and all of the pending I20s that have been created will be there grouped together, waiting to be approved. So,
so Amy, so I'm
going to demo that in our next call. We only set this one up to show you the RTI process.
Okay, I have another question though. What the process of those records getting from Linda to, let's say, me, is it still, regardless of whether we're doing it batch or RTI, is it still that she's having to send them one by one?
Yep.
I mean,
well, I mean, not.
That she can.
Yeah, it will have to be
That's what I was wondering. If there was a holding place for me to, you know, just throughout the day, boom, 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 boom,
and then all of a sudden say boom,
and then send them all over type of deal.
Well, they could sit on Tammy's case tracker all day, and she can set her own time to come to do them.
I know, but that's not what we're asking.
You want a holding area where you're going to push them all.
Yeah, if there was a place I could hold them and then go in once for that whole group and push them to an advisor.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day or whatever. At the end of the
no.
So and I get that question, and I guess what I want to ask, just so I understand, because I have such a different perspective. To me, the holding area would be the advisors would go in, they'd process what they have out there from the day before, and then the next morning they would go in and anything sitting in their queue. Like it's just a transformation of the paradigm of how we don't have the paper we don't have paper flies going around to people. We have, so I mean, to me, it's like a paradigm change of there's not a way to group them and hold all these things. You're doing them one by one right now, and at the end of the day, you're handing off folders, right? I'm just trying to figure it out. So that if there is a possibility in synapsis that we can think of how this changes.
Yeah, no, it's just, the thing is that
a lot of.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I don't understand
So
that.
What the extra work is that right now I'm like totally miscommunicating. She goes in one by one.
Well, it isn't really.
She's doing them one by one right now, and that's the part that I'm not
But
getting.
the extra step is putting
It's-
it on
it's-
our case tracker where that doesn't.
It's an
happen
extra, but you know,
But you're taking away-
thinking it through too. It's an extra step that is now, on the computer. It's not an extra step,
Mhm.
in that, you know, currently we print out labels and assemble files.
Right, that's true.
You know,
So eventually,
and
when that goes
It's the
away,
file, and then the file goes to us, and so then we go in, but it was
So it's
in
just
place of the
that.
file.
That's what I was
in place of that,
thinking.
Yeah.
like, are you guys still gonna hand off paper files, or
Right,
is Linda
in
just gonna
place of
put
that.
those in the cabinet and you go look at it? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think for the time being, you're still gonna have to do the paper
Yeah.
file because you don't have the documents uploaded
Right.
and all of
It would
that.
still be nice to have a loading place, so, I mean, just like, you know, because, you know, as you're going along,
Mhm.
you're not, I don't know, you know, you're not going by alphabet, if we, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Mhm.
And so each time you've gotta stop, push it, stop, push, stop, push.
Right.
You
and
know,
then
rather
the
than,
title.
okay, A through H here, okay,
Yeah,
now
I got you.
swamp,
Yeah.
push,
and
you know?
yeah, so it is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? And I just wanna make sure everybody understands, they'll be able to see each other's case tracker. So in other words, if you're like, wait a second, there was that one document, I signed it to Tammy, you can go in and look at her case assignment, and I don't know that that helps with this particular
No.
issue, but I think it's important to recognize.
Yeah,
Because
you're
right now, we can't figure out where paper files are and all that, that's one of the issues. And now, Linda's gonna be able to see those files right there with Tammy. I
Yeah.
put them in her mailbox, and here's the ones I assigned to her.
Yeah, I saw that right off the bat when the dialogue box came up, and it was like, and then you have to type a title of what this is, and I'm like,
That's why we have hotkeys.
you know.
Well, can I just, as an outsider, ask a question? Because one question is, how are you deciding who gets what files? And the other question is, to what degree, what type of review are you actually doing of the documentation before you finally approve that I-20 that the intake person has sent to you? Because that may impact, you know,
Yeah, and
another route. I mean, she could just create all pending batches, and the end of the day, you just know part of it. You just go in and all of those are in a pending batch queue, and you review the ones that are yours, if that is easier. But I think it sort of turns on how in detail is your review process. Like, are you actually going into a record and you're reviewing all the documentation they've submitted? Because in that way, if that's the truth, really the case file tracking is the way to go, I think.
And also, Amy, there is something, isn't there a rule we can set up where we can sign things by alpha? Does that work in this case? Like, we automatically want to assign?
In theory,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, in theory, but that is
Works for some and doesn't for others?
that works for the things that are already set up on alerts.
Okay.
We're not talking about that case. So yeah, so it's valuable questions to know. Once the intake person passes that on to you, how are you deciding who gets what? And what level of review are you going back through all the documentation again at that point?
How many schools, Amy, do you know that have a 2-layer process for creating the I-20?
A lot of them do. The big schools do.
To just catch errors, and because you've got the volume and it's good to have 2 sets of eyes.
Well, I think it's more that most people feel more comfortable, you know, if they're the DSO signing off on a creation, like they just want to make sure that everything is right because it's their name going on it. I think it's a little bit more that, you know, just
I don't want it to anything to complicate what occurs for the student later on down the road in terms of what's in CVIS either, right? That's another motivation.
Well, do you find that you catch a lot of, in your review process that you regularly, see things that need to be corrected, or?
Not regularly.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of the thing is I'm not familiar where I've come from. There is a person who enters them, but it's in admissions, and so I think it just gets down to thinking about this, keeping an open mind, but it sounds like we want to go the route of Linda's doing the initial and then assigning it to an advisor. We just have to decide, do we want to do the create batch or do we want to use RTI directly?
Well, right now, right now, we assign by alpha and there's a thorough review.
Okay. So we don't have much time left, and we need to get to the point where we can show this. Our whole point today was to show how to do this in RTI. We'll revisit this once you guys decide if you want to do it the batch way or if you just want to see it.
Yeah, we could follow up the next round. We could do and jump into this more, because this is, a business process potential change. So it is something that deserves its own. You see how both ways work, and then you decide as a team what makes most sense for you. If you're going to be doing a pretty thorough review, you're going to have to go into that client record anyway, especially if your intake person is uploading that documentation there. And so in that sense, closing the case file is not, it's a pretty quick action. Approving the batch is a pretty quick action. So if you have to go into the file anyway, I think the case file tracking is not going to be that onerous for you.
Okay, so we're back to
we can demo that maybe in our next call, that we just do a comparison of the two ways that you can do it, and you guys see like what's going to make the most sense for you.
Great. Okay, so I copied the temporary ID here.
Great.
And we're going to go back over to the to CVIS embedded browser.
Great.
As soon as I can pull it up here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got the student's ID copied.
No, so you want to go to new student?
Thank you. It's like I never hit the new student button, so it's so weird for me.
So you're going to see it's going to pop open a window, and it's going to ask for that student ID.
And I think that window may have popped up elsewhere, so I'm going to go wander around here and see if I can find it, because we've been having trouble with things showing up on one screen versus another.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to pull this over so everybody can see it. So this is what will pop up.
Yep.
And some of you may have seen this already.
And just an annoying rule of thumb, you really need to copy that ID before you get to the screen, because once this box opens, you can't get back to the record to do it. And it's ridiculous, but it's true.
It is. No, it is annoying. No, because that's happened to me.
No, it is.
And you've got to just close out of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to click OK. And I'll let you drive.
Okay. So the first thing you notice at the bottom there is that you then see, hey, the record that this person is connected to. Now, in theory, and I will say this works sporadically for me, you should be able to click on that link and toggle you back to the client record. For some reason, it works for me in some school systems and not in all others. So just something to note. Did it work for you?
Well, what I found is it works for me when I don't have the record open in Synapsis, but sometimes it doesn't work when I've already got it. So let me go back and let's see if it works. I'll click on it. And it's hard for me to know because I've got so many screens going in various places.
That's fine. I mean, you can play around with it. I feel like since 3.0, it's worked less reliably, but that's the way that it was used to work. Okay, so we have a blank screen here, and we know that we've already put a lot of this data is already in Synapsis. So what we're going to do, and we haven't actually tried this together, so with any luck it will work. We're going to try to use the populate fields button down there. Yay, okay, that is showing active. So when Jody clicks that, we should get population of all of that data from Synapsis. Yay, which is exactly what happened. Okay? Okay, so then you can go on to the next screen.
And did I miss it? This issue reason, initial attendance or initial attendance change of status requested, that was a drop down somewhere earlier that we could have changed? Or do we have to?
In theory, I mean, you could have done it at the point, you know, within the i20 screen, but I think it probably is smarter to just let it default to initial, and then on those cases, make that change.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to have a different template, you know, for change of status requested, but.
Yeah. I just wanted to check. And
yeah.
See. Okay.
So if you click next. Yeah, so what you're going to see is, I mean, your i20 creation is going to become really a few button clicks if you choose to use the populate fields button. Okay, you can go ahead and click it. And all that information is going to populate, dump right in there for you. So depending on the number of i20s that you issue in a day, you know, often the schools that I work with that have an intake person and then shoot it off to an advisor for review, they tend to be using the batch functionality because the advisors, you know, don't necessarily want to go in and do this piece. But there's also no reason why you couldn't send it back to, oh, well, I guess your intake person doesn't have DSO capabilities.
Yes.
She does.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the confusing part for all of us too, is that Linda does have DSO access.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, you could, in theory, she sends the case to you, you review it, you say approved for creation, send it back to her, and she goes in and does the magic here. So this is really kind of a preference, and depending how many i20s she's issuing a day. I always did mine in RTI because our numbers were so small. I never did more than 10 a day. So.
It seems like this is a lot of extra steps for when we do our initial ones, because we get them in like mass, and doing this like 1,400 times, 1,500 times seems like it would be better to just do this in batch.
Yeah, that's totally your, yeah, you guys know your numbers and what your tolerance level is, and you could use this only for those sort of rush or correction i20s or something like that.
Yeah, and then also I think once we get past this create i20, the advisors have a situation where, you know, only the intake coordinators or the advisors are touching something and working on it. So then it makes more sense to go directly into RTI and just enter the information here and click next, and it automatically goes to Synapsis. So I think this is really good that we had this today because it's really solidifying our understanding of how this works and how we want it to work. Okay, so should I hit next here, Amy?
Yeah, hit next because we should come to, I believe, the dependent screen or the finances screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Finances, I guess. Yep.
Okay, and now I'm going to hit next. I think I have everything.
That should bring us to the add dependent.
Okay.
Which is another.
Okay, so add dependent.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Okay, and then if you click populate fields, it should bring up a little window here. Oh, there you go. If you had more than one dependent, it would bring up a screen that would allow you to select which dependent you were going to add.
And now I'm going to click add dependent.
Exactly.
Okay, and now I've got return to dependent listing or print draft i20.
I think you can print your draft i20 at this point.
Processing request. Just wait. Okay, and now what's next?
All right, so you've got your draft I-20. Super.
Okay.
Okay, so I think if you go back, isn't it? If you go back to your dependent listing, then you can go on to complete the
So okay, so I can just close out of this with the X at the top because it's just a draft.
Exactly.
Oh, return to dependent listing. And now I can hit submit.
Yep.
Oh dear. Expenses for this dependent must be included.
Oh, you didn't do that.
Oh yeah, duh. There you go. That's
Look
okay.
on it.
Go back and just put in, whatever, 5,000 and
How can I forget about my love bunny? Okay, so now I have to go in.
edit student,
Edit student.
the upper left-hand corner.
Okay. Poor Pepe. This is because I can't take him to Japan with me that I did this, I know.
Okay, so just step on through to the third page for your finances.
Okay. Next. Okay, so now I should put
Up at the top.
up at the top, expenses for dependent. Okay. Okay. Pepe's an expensive bunny. And then I'll add 6,000 here, so that's 64,000.
Expensive money.
It's an expensive bunny. But that's okay. I've got oodles of money. I had 35 million on my financial statement. Somebody said the other day that somebody had $35 million bank statement for the balance. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to say submit.
Yeah.
Come on. Pepe needs a new pair of shoes. Print I-20. And then, oh, you guys, I've got a message here that came up when I went to print the I-20. Create student possible middle name test template. And
Yeah, so you need to connect the right CVIS. I don't know why this is, but you'll need to basically connect the right CVIS number to the right record. So if you just drop down for the create student.
Yeah, I did. And it's over here in another window. And it's not one I can pull over, I don't think. I can't move it over. I just was able to pick one or the other.
The review CVIS numbers window?
Yeah, the review CVIS numbers window comes on another screen.
Oh, I can see it.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 7089 or 7090. So for the main person, I'm putting 7089.
Right.
For the dependent, I'm putting 7090.
Yep.
And there we go. And now,
yeah, this is, I don't know what this is about, but it's.
And now I can print I-20.
Exactly.
And then once we print this I-20, we should be able to go back into Synapsis and it's there, right?
Exactly. It will be stored under CVIS documents in the client record.
And this one says sample again. Is that right?
Yeah. So that was the draft one after the dependent was added. You can get rid of that.
Okay. So now it's processing request. Please wait, I guess. So that was the other one. That was the sample. Okay. So we're still waiting for this one. So yeah, I think this becomes fairly obvious that this is a batch deal. These create I-20s. Because it's like all the stuff I do. I don't go directly into CVIS. I do batch all the time because I'm doing numbers. And that's, Linda, Kathleen, and our student team. I don't know, how many did we create last year? I'm trying to remember from our, it was over 1,000. But I can't remember how many over 1,000.
Taking its sweet time here.
I wonder if yeah, Chris tends to click. He's like, he's young and he thinks that things work instantaneously. The rest of us have been beaten down by this CVIS fees. This does seem like it's stuck. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I'll go back to.
Let's go to the record and see if
Yeah, I want to. I want to see if it's in here. I can't find my mouse, but thank you very much for telling me where to go when I find it. Okay, document management, CVIS documents. And here is something. What does that say? CVIS RT, I want to see what it says though. Section 2, create student section 2. Does that sound right?
I don't know. You could open it up.
Okay, I didn't want to click on it.
Never seen it. That was the draft.
Use the draft one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the draft one will come in here as well as the permanent one?
Yeah, if you generate the draft, you don't have to. But you just witnessed the process. You know, your I20s for the dependent and the student would automatically be dumped into the record for you.
And what's the difference between that processing request and this OK button?
I
can't.
I think wasn't the processing request one when you asked to print it, and the other is the OK button, just like OK, like don't bother.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's taking its time. Sometimes tests can be a little slow like that. But you have the gist of the basic process there. When it gets created, it will open immediately for you to print, and it will also be saved as a copy under CVIS documents in the client record.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? We kept Amy a little bit longer because we started later. Do you guys have questions about other stuff that you're working on right now with synapsis, or anything about this process? Really helpful. I don't know about you guys, but I feel much better about all of this.
Okay. To see the contrast with the batch.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're going to have to do that one
next
next.
time.
Insert that next. Yeah, and you'll have to tell me, let me know if you want to wait for the 2 weeks to do it, or if you want to schedule time next week to get it out of the way before we move on. So let me know. We might want to insert it if we can at all. Okay, so Amy, I think we're good to go unless you had any other points to make to us.
No, that's great. So we'll just start with this demo of the RTI, and then next time we'll demo the batch. And Jody, if you and I can touch base before that, because I'd like to go ahead and send one through so they'd see what it looks like when it comes back, but then also create one as if we're doing it from scratch so that we can explore how you guys might want to work that process. Because it sounds like you kind of maybe want to keep it as a batch process.
Right. And in 5 minutes, I have a meeting with our IT people in Synapsis to try to get our digital certificate issue fixed. So
great.
Next meeting, Tammy, will hinge on whether or not we can get, I've got batch all set up, but our digital certificate isn't working out right. So I'll let you know as soon as we have it. Okay, so we're good. Amy, thank you so much. This was so helpful.
Great. All right. You guys have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Stop recording.
Thank you. Okay, hold on. Let me stop recording before we discuss the clown incident that happened in the middle of this whole thing. That was really scary. I turned around, Emily.
That was scary, right?
That was really scary, but